So I think we have 4:20 now. Luckily for me, now I can do my presentation. Welcome to my not TED Talk. To my presentation, Hacked in Hours: Red Team Assessments, Unveiling Vulnerabilities. I think we all said now 6-ish hours. So I plead to all stand up for a moment. And we will do a little bit of an exercise. But only a little one. So you all know Macarena, or? Okay, just let's do the Macarena. Okay, just for the lads, you can sit down now. But how easy was it for me to stand here in front of you and do a little bit of social engineering on you? So all of you did what I said, more or less. Again, please?
Maybe because we like.
Yeah, maybe. But that's like a part of red teaming, social engineering, but I will come to that in the next second. Let's just look at the numbers quickly. Those are, because I'm from Germany, particular German numbers. Those are numbers published by the Bitkom. This is like a German statistic firm. And the BKA, which is like a law enforcement group. And they published that in the year 2022, 136,000 cybercrimes were registered. So we all know the number is possibly much, much higher, but this is only what they've detected. This is an increase on about 3% to the previous year. How does that happen? We all know, and that's why a conference like the NDC Security or altogether the NDC conference exists, we move into much more digitalization. We have an increasing professionalism, sorry, German accent, and going into English is not native. Increasing, you're getting more professional. And the barriers getting lower and lower. We call it cybercrime as a service, CAS. So everything as a service today, but that's another thing. Cybercrime, as I said right now, is a professional business. And we will see that in a slide later. Some more numbers, because we don't have enough of them. Every 39 seconds, an attacker hacks. An hacker attacks. So, on average, that's a little bit more than 2,000 a day. If we look at how long it takes to detect one, 7 months. And even more till it's mitigated. 11 months to be exactly. In the German economy, it was around of 223 billion in damage altogether. Those are our numbers, I think, from 2021. So I think that increased in the last 2 years. If we look at the revenue from advanced persistent threat protection, so just to protect against APT attacks, we are looking at a really, really high number from Statista, also a German statistic company. Now, if we flip the side, I think the attacking side takes much more money in leveraging some attacks. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention who I am. So, I'm a husband and a father, and this is my first session, I think, is what is going to be recorded. So in the camera, hi babe, I love you. And also to my kids, I love you too, of course. Yeah. I'm a senior security consultant at Adesso, which is a company who is active in the European continent. That's the SE part of thing. I'm a trainer for secure coding. This is where I'm coming from initially. I was doing front-end development, then back-end, then DevOps, then DevSecOps, and later then I was doing only IT security. At IT security consulting, mostly in 4 areas: application security, cloud, offensive, and AI since mid of 2023. I have a mission statement, and it's to say, secure the digital world, to secure the digital world one byte at a time. You can leverage that to anything other, but for me it's go step by step to a more secure world with different techniques or methods. How would you define a red team assessment? So I need your input again. Any input? Come on. Yes?
Pentester, social engineering, for example.
Okay, pen testing, social engineering for those who didn't heard it. Any other things? What could?
Test the organization.
Yeah, test the organization. Yes. Some more.
Have fun.
Have fun for the dudes who do the red team. Yes, of course. Yes, there's a really good definition. It's really much text, so I will not go into every detail. This is a definition from Dale Pearson presentation, which you see at the bottom, and it says, granularly, you need diversely skilled people with different backgrounds, with different points where they can leverage from, because a red team, per definition, is attacked from every perspective, like an evil hacker group would do. So you need someone who is good at social engineering, someone who is good in maybe pen testing a network, or someone who is really good at reverse engineering. They are a team, and they need to be humble in nature, cooperative, focused, and disciplined, because there may be setbacks in all the red team project, as I would say, because you want to emulate what real-world adversaries would be. The goal is not to have fun, but also to aid the company. You want to show the company you do the red team assessment for where vulnerabilities may lie. A red team is not vulnerability-centric like the most security assessments, but more a threat-centric one. So as more threats you may have, the more red team assessment could be versatile. This is what a typical project flow at Adesso would look like. We start with a kickoff with the customer. We'll do some preparation where we get into the scope, what is in scope, what is out of scope, and do a little bit more of a detailed planning. After that, we have a long attack phase. This is where the fun is. But as we are in a business where we need to document it, so we shouldn't forget that. That's mostly time later, because who likes to do documentation? Me personally not. But it's important to have it, so that the client also can see what has been done and how has it been done. After the whole simulation, the attacking phase, we will go into a discussion with the customer, look what can be done in easy mitigations, or what could be done, or is this a real finding, because this may differentiate from perspective. We have an outside perspective, they have an inside perspective. That's not a threat. Or for us, it's a threat. Okay, we can move it out or create it out, but that's some discussion point. In the attacking phase, we work with two frameworks per definition. The cyber kill chain, where we start with a recon phase, go then into the weaponization, then to the delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and actions on objective. Who knows the cyber kill chain? No one? Okay. So the cyber kill chain is just a linear process where you can put techniques like on it. Where you can say on the recon phase, I do something like collecting emails. Weaponization, I will get some payload, for example, with the email, and deliver it to the SMTP server from the customer. Maybe after that, it gets exploited. You have maybe an installation of a malware, go into the command and control of a client, Windows client, Linux client, doesn't matter. And maybe then, at the end, have an action on the objective and can do whatever you want. That's what you see in the hacker films, like with the, oh, there's recording on the laptop, but you don't see the light, or you see the light, maybe. What we are mostly working with are techniques from the MITRE attack framework, which is just a mapping to every point of adversary you can do. And the techniques are described as how they could be done and how they could be maybe mitigated. When you go to the MITRE attack framework, you will see that on points like Recon, they say, oh, that's not a technical issue. There you can do a broad point of changes, but you need to evaluate that yourself. That's the outline I will go on today with, because we have only an hour, and I've burned already 13 minutes of it. So I highlighted those we are going a little bit deeper into. Let's start with the recon phase. In the recon phase, what we are doing mostly, open source intelligence. Open source intelligence just means what information can I get through public research, or not only public, but mostly. Most times you don't need the dark web or anything like that. The most things are on the clearnet. And the OSINT, which is short for open source intelligence, has also a process, kinda, where you collect the data. Then, if you have many data sets, you are going to process that, analyze them, disseminate them, and direct it. And so you can go always a step deeper or deeper and deeper till you get maybe the name of the cat, of the neighbor, of the street across from above, something like that. But you don't need that most times. In business case, we use platforms like LinkedIn. Funny enough, it's a business platform where I think mostly of us are registered, me myself too. And you can get so much information just through simple search on a business platform. For example, I picked some company in Germany and looked what people are working there. And I quickly found out, okay, there's these people working. They have like multiple on-sites, I think, because we have like Stuttgart, Munich, Hamburg, near Stuttgart. And I sometimes see what they are doing in the role or what they are working with. That's a really, really good thing. For me, in open source intelligence is to get maybe the important persons for my attack. And here I have some listed. Let's start with those two candidates. We have a project manager, we see so much valuable data. And don't forget, that's only LinkedIn. I didn't put much into their website or something like that. And I see they're working with blockchain, they have some data science. Oh, we have some core services. Oh, that's interesting. I know they have an LDAP. Oh, okay, then they're possibly working on an Active Directory kind of setup. They are working with Kerberos as a bridge, maybe. And so much more information. Or CyberArk, which could be interesting for me to maybe go around those tools or leverage them. We are going a little bit deeper. They have security engineers. Oh, okay. Oh, and what they're working with. Okay, they have an IDS, they intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system. They have some vulnerability management. So I think they do something for security. But I know exactly what they do and maybe what they don't do. You could go on and looking a little bit deeper in what the people at this company would do. This is just one point of open source intelligence. Funny stories we have from some physicals, or like where we're looking at the OSINT geo perspective. This is some streets I picked out in Germany. You can try to reverse search it, but I think you won't be successful, just for your case. Everything I will tell you today is not a blueprint to do these attacks, just for your information that you can't say to your colleagues, oh, Rico told me how to hack a company. But what we are doing at physicals, we just look at Google Maps or other map platforms and look where may lay some entrances, maybe some fire exits in the summer. We had some physical security assessment where we've looked at their on-site, and it was summer. Summer in Germany, it was like 30 degrees, something like that. And they used the fire exits with the fire distinguisher, I think it's called, to block those fire exits so the air could go to the office. I don't know if they should do that, but that's another case. But that's why I say fire exits are also important, maybe for us, because they could be used in this case. What we are doing, we are driving or walking around the complex, looking at maybe what entrances are there. Is there a main entrance? Is there a side entrance? Is there a ID verification point of usage, something like that? Or how could we look at maybe some streets inside this company? For example, we look here and see that there are a lot of parking lots, and seeing when do the people who work for the company go into the on-site or when not. So for lunch, everyone goes out. Maybe you can go with them inside, called tailgating. Yes. And with just that information through Google Maps or just walking around it, driving around the complex, we see multiple entrances. We have a main entrance, we have some bridge who connects those two buildings, we have another side entrances here, we have one entrance here, and we have some fire exits. Or in this case, we have something where our storage is, where maybe some things get delivered by third-party companies. Fun fact, we also had a colleague of mine could walk into one company in the storage just by walking in. Nobody asked anyone. I asked him if he was working for the company or is he a third-party supplier or something. He wasn't asked. He just walked in and was like, oh, that's a really nice storage. I had some implications of legal boundaries. That's why I've generated everything to Delhi, who could have been led to a company. But those are not so beautiful as those Delhi 3 generated pictures from Troy. Mine are only 1 in the 300. But sometimes it's as easy as just going into the front desk and say, "Hi, I need to go to the toilet, please." For example, we had one physical where we went to the front desk after we went to other entrances where they didn't care if we walked in, and said, "Yeah, I need to go to the toilet." And this was like behind the front desk, and you need to imagination a little bit that after behind the front desk there are some floors where you can go into the main building. So after we went to the toilet, we walked into the floors. And nobody from the front desk ever asked us again if we should walk back to the main building. What we saw there is another case. We saw documentations with sensitive data. We saw passwords placed on the keyboard or under the keyboard or at the monitor. Yes. Sometimes we don't need to stress that. Also, I think I didn't want to put some YouTube videos here, but just search for an office tour video. If you just look at YouTube and type in blah, 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 office tour, sometimes they have a tour and they walk you through every damn room of their building and telling, okay, this is here, this is there, this. We have here fun little for playing, and you could leverage all this information in just like 2 to 3 minutes video. Because you see maybe what is in the background, what the video team didn't saw, or it's not their job to say, okay, this could be a security issue. But maybe you could leverage something which is on a whiteboard. Maybe if there are some stools or something like that, because they moved recently in there. If this is a recent video, you could walk in there, say, I'm a moving company. Like what we are doing pre-text for scenarios if we are going to a physical on-site. For example, okay, there's they moved in there, maybe have some change requests for the router or something like that. We go in there, say, hi, we are technicians. We are sent by the IT department to help you fix the routers in the second floor where the stools are. We were here 4 weeks ago. And they say, oh, yes, of course, I know there's this whiteboard with the funny points. I know you. I don't know you, but you know that there's something up there, which only our company knows. Okay, go ahead. Just to circle back, some social engineering, what I did earlier to you. As I said, it's not a blueprint for what to do, but I will give you some tips how you could do defensive side of that. For every point on the MITRE ATT&CK framework, you could do some kind of security awareness training or user training, where you need to put it into perspective, but for every kind of thing, you can do some kind of awareness training. If it's technical, if it's people behavior, you could do it sometimes. You can do it anytime something. It's more than nothing. You could contact me for physical security inspections. So then I can do a red team assessment privately, you know. No, but you can go to your building, look at how are the security measures implemented. Is there any kind of point where you need to maybe evaluate some kind of measurements you need to implement? Is there something which looks suspicious? Or maybe just as easy as the fire exit. Is it only used if it's an alarm? Or is it put with a fire extinguisher on hot days? It's similar to the previous slide. Know your landscape and maybe put some deception into it. If you know what physical or web-based or network-based landscape you have in your company, you could look into that and maybe put some honeypots or something similar into it, so you could maybe detect some attacks of that. Let's go to the initial access phase. By MITRE-ATT&CK, phishing also is in initial access. I see it mixed through recon and initial access, to be honest, because most times you can get so much information through some phishing campaigns and leverage that to some more attacks. For clarification, phishing per definition is not a specific target. This is what maybe everyone in this company gets, or a broad type of people at this company. Spear phishing is an individual target. Targets individual. I think I put it in the wrong sentence, but it's individual. You get something like previous through LinkedIn. I know these people may be important for me, so I will go to them for some attack. Whaling, similar to spear phishing, but the high-ranking victims, like C-level suit or some similar people who you can leverage more to. If we are once maybe inside an on-site at a company, it's easy to put some removable media. I think in the last years I didn't saw some DVD players. That's, I think, we could get that away, but USB. And so many endpoint clients don't have like an endpoint detection or something like that, so you still can stick an USB inside it, rubber ducky, for example, and go from there. Also, through maybe removable media or through other points, maybe they have like a cloud setup, and maybe through that we could go into their network, go into there with an external remote service and just be on their environment and leverage from there, just going with some Nmap scanning, maybe looking deeper into what tools they're running in their environment, or what can I get maybe through their VPN, which I didn't saw earlier, from the external attack surface. Also generated with Delhi. I was surprised how good this went, to be honest. But maybe through an Office tour video, or maybe we got some architectural plan from the company just to know what is out of scope or not, what is in scope and what is out of scope. Maybe sometimes they don't want that we go to the storage, and then we could see that and leverage that. Now, because I don't want you to sleep in my presentation, this is just an example picture, but we went to a company and they said, you can go anywhere where you want. Do what you want. This is the picture, everything white. Well, maybe you can see, or you need to imagine that there are cameras everywhere. They had security, like big guys They who should prevent us to go anywhere. In the next slide, I will show you where in this office plus storage we went. Where did you think we went? Server room? Printer room? We went everywhere. So I need to drink a. It didn't matter if we went to the main entrance or some side entrance where there was a security guy. We went in there and said, "Hi," and could walk by. The funny thing is, for the side entrance with a security guy, as we walked to him, I think he was doing a cigarette pause, and as soon as we walked to him, he opened the door for us and said, "Go in, please." So we could think, okay, in his job description, should he be more service-orientated or more security-orientated? You could see it like that, but most times, so this was in the northern part of Germany, and it was not a high, it was a moin, but this is a matter of this subject. How could we defend such things? For the technical things, implement something like multi-factor authentication. If you do it with a soft key, better with a hard key, like with FIBO 2 or something like that. This also needs to be implemented correctly. If this is implemented incorrectly, it doesn't change anything. But if it's done correctly, you can leverage it out, of course. And as we didn't hear it in the first events, security awareness trainings. Just like an example for the security guy, physical security guy, I don't know how it's called in English, to be honest. Maybe get him more to like a security-orientated actions and not service-orientated actions. And also maybe the people on the front desk or similar functions, roles that they should maybe think twice to let people inside the company. The execution. As soon as we are on a client or some Azure, some cloud environment, we can leverage the technical misconfigurations or vulnerabilities. Maybe through PowerShell or maybe on the container, something if it's misconfigured, and go from there. Also, as you see, in every step we've taken or got 1 point deeper inside a company, we want to get more information. As more as we know about the company, the more we can use it against them. I would say, for example, this one, to get all the software installed on the client and the version, then you could go and look into some vulnerability database, public vulnerability database, where maybe some scripts are, or POCs, how you would call them in that case, and maybe navigate from that further into their environment. Good that we hear some police here. That would have been good for the company in Germany. How could I defend that in case of the... it wasn't police, it was... it doesn't matter, sorry, I got... for like container or like everything cloud-based, you can do some code signing also, maybe some image signing if you have like, or building that yourself. signing it with a certificate could help almost every time. I think it was in some earlier sessions, maybe I don't know if you were part of that but you could use some purge account management or user management. That's just a terminology for if it's on-prem or client-based or something like that, or if you're more on the container side. In container side, it's more like user management. For end clients, it's more account management, but you need some kind of management to know what is doing, or who is doing what, and what should these people do, and what should they allowed, what they are being allowed to do. As soon as we are in some clients, we want, an example for this, some maybe Windows account and want to get into that side. We want a domain account. Because as we all know, with a domain account, I got much more rights to do something. Un momento. What could we do to defend that? We could implement some application isolation and sandboxing so that we put all aside of what the application or container are doing. For example, the most container, like services on Docker, in the earlier versions did one without a sandbox or as isolation mode. I think it's called isolation mode in Docker. But since I think a version which was published last year, you could have gotten more of an isolation mode or sandbox mode, where everything what happens inside the application stays in there, and you can't leverage out of that with some root functions or something like that. Let's get into the defense evasion. What we are doing as a red team, mostly in network-based penetration tests or red teaming assessments, is that we are using in-memory execution techniques. I think if I would break that up now, that would take another hour to go into that. But that's for us the most sophisticated and best use of how to stay silent inside an attack. Just you heard that in-memory execution techniques. You could Google that up, something like that, to get more into that. But that's what we are using, mostly. You could leverage that through different points just to stay silent. As you maybe know, maybe you have some software implemented where you can know they don't log that much, or not the information they need to detect you. So you could also use some old software. How could I defend that? If we have some client, we could do some behavior prevention on the endpoint. Mostly, I think in Microsoft perspective, there's some Microsoft Defender or some sophisticated steroids version of that. And you can look at to what anomalies are going through that, and what could they been using, so that maybe some in-memory execution or some techniques can be detected. I won't say that in-memory execution is not silent, so you can always get some stuff because it's still network-based. So you have some type of request, you have some type of process it's going through, but you can maybe get some anomaly from that if it's out of every other thing this software should do or this request should do. You can also employ some heuristic-based malware detection, where you go into that deep inside of the, as with the previous point, that you look at what anomaly are going through that and how can this malware be detected. There are different kinds of how they could be detected, but in my case, I would say just use some heuristic-based one. This is a really important slide for me. I have just 2 slides where I have many texts, because one, the definition, and the code of conduct. Because for me, it is important that you know or can read that after, maybe on the online version. But I will go through each point. For a red team assessment, it is important to be as realistic as possible. That's what we are trying at Adesso. And say we don't need that much information, just maybe what is in scope, what is out of scope, and we will do our thing, because we will get that information nevertheless. However, there are some ethical, moral, and legal boundaries to consider. So we won't go anywhere and break some kneecaps or something like that, or will destroy a door or something like that. That's not what we are trying to do. We won't damage anything. That's the second point too. Never break local or regional law. So I think here in Norway there are some other laws in Germany, I guess, because we are different countries. But at the end, there are some laws which prevent you doing stuff which maybe an evil group would do, but we don't, because we are in a business context. There's a big ethical decision on whether you are allowed to impersonate real individuals or not. So that's sometimes that's in our bullet point list, which we are talking with the clients we are working with. We are asking them, is it okay if we impersonate someone? Maybe as a scenario, someone at the start of the month starts at a company. We know that through maybe LinkedIn, or they publish some list or some statement earlier, and we maybe know that there are some apprentices starting at the 1st of February, and we know his name maybe I don't know, Rico. And then I go to the front desk and say, okay, I'm Rico, I'm starting here on 1st February as ... And that's a decision you need to evaluate together, and if it's okay or if it's not okay. Don't mention or exploit friends and family of the targets. So I think most points of that are common sense, but I want to go into that points in particular. As I said, we are in a business context. We don't want to leverage some personal information. Maybe we got the name of the dog of the neighbor. It's okay. But we don't need it, or we shouldn't use it because it's in a private part of the life of the employees. And this is just for the business aspect. We want to see what business risks are there, and not what some individual risks may be there. And also not use them like for spearphishing attacks or something like that, or blackmailing or something like that. This is out of every boundary we set up. Don't target, that's also the same point, but more like the technical stuff to it. Don't target personal emails, social media and phone numbers, as I said, business context. For me, a really, really important point: avoid witch hunting and finger pointing. So maybe there is a bad password policy in place, and sometimes not every employee, even if they have a bad password, is the problem for that, because they have implemented a bad policy. So maybe we leverage something through an account from an employee, but we don't want to say, hey, it was this person, and from this person we went to the CEO, and with this account we had everything. No, we don't want to say they are the initial access, maybe we access to. We will share the specifics on which account may be compromised, but we don't want to say, okay, it was you and it was a problem of you. No, it's a company problem, not of this individual. Don't target third-party providers or suppliers, because in scope, only the business or the client itself should be in scope, and every point where they maybe don't have that much room to do anything, we shouldn't get into consideration for the sweat team assessment. And handle data and findings responsibly. Some things like GDPR still applies. And if we have some data, maybe PIIs, they need to be foundable and have like some deletion policies. Because when someone says, okay, I want my data deleted, we need to delete them too, even if our company contract with the client may look like that all the data findings happens for, or where we save for a year. To everything, or most things, can be done inspections. I say not everything, because ethical and morally and legally things should be out of exceptions, even if that's a really, really important client and you want that money for this assessment. No, that shouldn't be an exception there. So at the end of the day, what I often show in my sessions is we want defense in depth. Most times I have some picture in the beginning where there are some bad implementations of security, like some barriers where you can just walk by. If you see this picture, you have like maybe the king and queen just at the top of this castle. And I, as an attacker, am here on the bottom of the castle. How do I get there silently? So there may be guards here at the bottom of this picture. There may be some arrow guards with maybe fire arrows. As soon as they see some intruder, they will fire it at me. Maybe they have an alarm system where if here's an intruder alert, someone up here gets ringing bells and says, oh, okay, we have some intruder, let's gear up. And then you have the gold guards or white knights or something like that, and which are rushing all down to me to prevent me to go to the king and queen. So you need to look at your whole landscape and see what can I do and what can I do. What can't I do? Because sometimes in business context we have some suppliers who only have like a ranged part of the company, or maybe there's a supplier who has like the upper hand of all the things they're doing at this company in automotive or manufacturing industry, for example. But yeah. At the end of the day, you need different security defense mechanism to prevent something. One defense mechanism won't be enough, so you need multiple, and that's what we are calling defense in depth. 10 minutes earlier, as I expected, because to be honest, when I tried it, I took some minutes more and I put some slides more into that, but as I'm not a native English speaker, it's difficult to train that, to be honest. But I would gladly, you can follow me on LinkedIn, contact me if you have any questions about our red team assessments or any other areas I'm working with. And now you can put me some questions, or I will use some minutes for some stories we maybe have done or not. Are there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering when gaining the initial foothold, do you...
Could you say that again, please?
Yeah, when you're gaining the initial foothold, like to set up something inside of the company,
Yeah.
do you find that the companies react differently if you have a physical, if you got in physically versus digitally? Like if they evaluate it differently?
So the question is, because I will repeat it so that people after who are not here for the video, is if the companies are reacting differently digitally or physically, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, of course. So digitally, most times the first point of contact in this case would be the Security Operations Center or some blue team or something like that, if we stay in the same wording, red team, blue team. And for the physical security, you mostly don't have like the IT guys involved. It's the front desk, it's maybe the housekeeping staff, and those are different people, so they are reacting differently. And also, through the different physical security assessments we've done, they react. So funny thing is, yes, of course, we are all humans, and with some social engineering points or pretexting, you can leverage into that. You need to put that into that case of how could it work in that company. Because at one company, I can use like some kind of technical persona, sometimes more like a service persona. So yeah and no, they are reacting differently, of course, because we don't have the 101 comparison. But you could say that if a company has more defense mechanism in place, this could go into both ways. They could say, okay, we are secure, we don't need any more, and then they have like a blind side, or they are like more into that, okay, let's stay skeptical. Or digitally, it depends on what they have in place, to be honest. If they have an IDS, IPS in place, or some kind of web verification firewall, or firewall in general for their network. So it depends, just as any consultant would say. Any more questions? Okay. Did any of you had a red team assessment in your company? Who wants to go out now and do a red team assessment yourself? No one? Okay. Okay, if you don't want to do it, you can contact me. So now it's going to sales, Rico. No. Okay, I hope you liked my presentation. If you have any more questions, you can come up to here to me as soon as I will pack up. I will be here tomorrow again till I think 12 a.m. around-ish like that. And if you liked it, I would also, or not, I would like some personal feedback. And thank you very much, and have fun at NDC Security.